Hello everybody and welcome to the round 2 AFL 2026 tips and predictions video, take 2. I'm your host Matt Danger here, joined by the lovely uncle. How are you this week?
I'm good, Danger. How are you going?
We're fantastic. We're up and about this week. This is
I bet you are.
we're just going to hop right into last week's recap. We had a couple differences, couple things we got wrong. So I ended up with 7 out of 9. Yourself with 5 out of 9. The two things that got us a bit different were the Geelong and Fremantle game. Geelong making a good comeback, getting me a nice tip early, and the risk of taking North Melbourne against Port Adelaide settled pretty nicely. I think they won every single quarter as well. So
Yeah.
I jump ahead to 8 and yourself at 6. Plenty of time to catch up, but it does allow me to do a little silly things throughout the next couple of weeks, hopefully. We'll jump into this week's tips though. Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Hawthorn versus Sydney. Hawthorn slight favourites on the on the betting, purely because of I think Heaney and Goulden will be missing this week. I think Sydney have been quite strong to start off the year. Hawthorn up and down. I am going to go with the Hawks though. I think that they will be up on their way up after they've played a couple of weeks now. At the MCG, Sydney away without Gordon and Heaney. I think that tips it slightly in the favour of Hawks.
Yeah, last 10 favour Sydney. They're 6-4 head-to-head. The last 10 times they've played. The last 5 times at the MCG is even Sydney's way. It's 4-1, I think, going towards Sydney. But interestingly, they only play once a year. The last 7 years they've played each other, they've only ever played once that year. And most of them have been at the SCG. So a lot of those MCG games for Sydney were like 10 years ago and stuff.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I don't know why. See, normally the draw, isn't it, that teams only play once. There are some teams play each other twice a year on, and yet Hawthorn Sydney only play once a year. Yes, Goulden's a huge loss for him, tips wise. He's massive. Didn't play much from last year. Not going to play much from this year. Bad news for us fantasy players who had Goulden in.
Maybe made that change.
Transfers now. But I've gone Hawthorn. I've created a little Excel sheet that helps me with the tipping, based on the team selected last week. Hawthorn's come up trumps. We take Goulden and Heaney out of the equation for that. I think Hawthorn should win fairly comfortably, probably 20-25 points.
Oh wow, going for a comfortable win. Okay. Friday night clash, probably one of the first good Friday night clashes that we might get. Adelaide versus Bulldogs. I'm going to go with Bulldogs. I'm just going to say that out the gate. I think they have looked way too good for Adelaide. Adelaide's first hit out against Collingwood this past week, I think they were a little bit sloppy, just with their way of going inside 50 as well as just their ball use around the ground. Western Bulldogs are kind of hitting on all cylinders. I think Adelaide home game, I think it'll be quite close though. But I think Bulldogs will probably win by maybe a goal or 2.
Yeah, last 10 head-to-head, 5-all. So they match up pretty well equally. And interesting, the last times they've played at the Grand Adelaide Oval, Adelaide have won 3-0. The last 13 years, they've only played 3 times in Adelaide. So they don't travel all that much, the Bulldogs, to Adelaide.
No, we have a tendency to play this at Ballarat, but that's the usual game, I think.
And always the Bulldogs' home ground. So only 3 home games in 13 years to Adelaide, and they've won all 3 of them. So my system says the Bulldogs, but I'm jumping off the system. I'm going to go for Adelaide at home. The Bulldogs have looked ultra impressive, but Adelaide, I mean, I really wanted to see from last year. I thought last year might have been a bit of a blip, but they played some pretty good footy, didn't they, on the weekends?
Yeah, there were quite a few players that I was really impressed with. Miller has stood out. I think Neil Bullen had a fantastic game. Rochelle is now through the middle. I think he was all right. Got 24 touches and a goal. Pretty good.
Rankin's back.
Rankin will be back this week.
So, I mean, Adelaide's shown that last year wasn't a fluke, that they're quite a decent team. So, being at home, I think that's a factor. I'll go for Adelaide.
Okay. I like it. Brings back the stats. Brings in a new system. Throws the system out in game 2. Saturday, though, we got a pretty boring one to kick us off. The first Saturday that I'm going to be home for all games, and Sunday that I'll be home for all games. I'll get a fucking boring one. Richmond versus Gold Coast at the MCG, 1:15 to kick us off. Gold Coast easily for me. They've shown the last couple of weeks that they are here for 2026. They will probably be a top 4 finish. So they should dominate Richmond, who had a close game this week against Carlton. But yeah, I don't know if that speaks highly of Richmond or poorly of Carlton.
Probably a bit of A and a bit of B, isn't it?
Little from column A, little from column
Head-to-head,
B.
Gold Coast 6-4. Overall, 2-1 the last couple of times at the ground. They've only played each other once since 2016 at the MCG, and the Gold Coast won that game. So my stats say the Gold Coast should win this game. I think they will. Richmond were a markedly improved team against Carlton. Good fight, didn't they? To come back from behind at halftime.
I thought they were going to do it again.
Top class.
Yeah, I thought Richmond were going to pip them at the post again this year, like they did last year. But yeah, you're right. Gold Coast too strong.
Yeah, Gold Coast too good.
GWS versus St Kilda follows that one at 4:15 twilight game at NG Stadium. Gee, St Kilda, I don't know what to make with them anymore. Everyone was pretty high on them pre-season. Their first one against Collingwood, you go, it's a loss against Collingwood. We'll give them benefit of the doubt. But last week against Melbourne, letting them score 120 points is not the way Ross Lyon likes to play it. So it could be another poor year for St Kilda, but it could take them a month or two to get going as a new team, considering of all the ins they brought in. I'm gonna go with GWS. I thought they were really good against Hawthorn this week. They weren't amazing, but really I think. Yeah, I think at NG they might take over a St Kilda that's not quite gelling together yet.
Yeah, 6-4 head-to-head GWS way. Even at the ground though, it's interesting. It's a 3-2, so St Kilda go okay there, considering it's not in Melbourne. Yeah, what you say about St Kilda's right. We thought they'd take some time to gel together, but I mean the season might be over. They've got some tough games coming up as well. Their season will be done by round 5. So if they don't get their shit together fairly soon, the season could be done and dusted. And for a team that had high expectations with all their signings and money spent, that would be a bad thing for them. I've gone GWS. The home ground factor for me will sway it. They were poor last week. They were good against the Hawks, so I'm guessing they'll be good this week.
Just the one night game this week, Fremantle versus Melbourne at Optus Stadium. Yeah, no double headers. I don't have to have 2 scores on the screen at once anymore. So Fremantle should be. They blitzed Geelong in the first quarter. Unfortunately, they let Geelong in and ran over the top of them. But I think Fremantle will be way too strong at Optus for Melbourne, who's probably pretty high off their win against St Kilda, and I don't think many people would have had them. I know in our Nostradamus no one had them, but so Fremantle probably too strong at home.
Yeah, 5-all head-to-head record in the last 10 games they've played, and 1-all at the ground. In the last 10 years, they've only had 2 home games Freo against Melbourne over here in Perth at Optus Stadium, and that's a 1-all record. So it's a real tight one, stats-wise, history-wise, but ability-wise, Fremantle are probably a top 4, top 5 team. Melbourne, despite their good win last week, really are a bottom 4, bottom 5 team. So Fremantle home should be too good.
Thor just letting us know his opinions during that as well. Appreciate it, buddy. Port Adelaide versus Essendon, just one of the 2 Sunday games that we have this week. At Adelaide Oval, 3:15 p.m. Melbourne time. Port Adelaide will be too strong at home against Essendon, I think. Both of them were really poor. Essendon probably the poorest out of the lot. But yeah, it's purely just for the fact that it's at Adelaide Oval for me for this tip. Both teams pretty bad. I reckon I'm starting to think that both teams will be in the bottom 4. North Melbourne taking them out of that bottom 4, I think.
Yeah, both teams are very poor. Probably the worst 2 teams really to come out of last weekend, weren't they? It's an 8-2 head-to-head record for Port Adelaide, and at the ground it's 5-0 in recent times. Yeah. My system says Essendon, but if you factor in their big home ground record, the fact they're at home, I think that goes to Port Adelaide for me in a tight game. I think Port Adelaide will win, but only just.
And the final game of the round is West Coast versus North Melbourne. What a Sunday it's going to be. At Optus Stadium at 6:10 p.m. at Melbourne time. Easy one for me, North Melbourne. But I'm also going to say...
Oh, here we go.
North Melbourne are going to start the year either 4-2 or 5-1.
Yeah.
And they will be top 6 to top 4 at the end of the first 6 rounds.
Crazy, isn't it? And I think teams after round 6, if you're in the 8, you're in the 8. I think that's history that shows that most of the time. So
I know it. Historically speaking, there's usually a team that's in the bottom 4 that eventually that makes finals the next year.
Yeah.
I reckon North could be the one that does it. It could be North this year.
Head to head, it goes North Melbourne's way as well. There's a 6-4 head to head record and 2-2 at the ground. North Melbourne played twice over here at Optus. One of the games they sold was against the Eagles, so they'll be back here in a couple of months to play the same team. But like you, that was super impressive, weren't they? North, considering how bad they've been for 10 years. Even the Eagles' second half, you can see the light there. Potentially. It's
little sparks for sure.
Yeah, but they looked okay the second half, so I can't see North Melbourne losing. But maybe it'll be a nice game to watch.
Those with the bye this week are Brisbane, Collingwood, Carlton, and Geelong. If you haven't been paying too attention of who's playing who. But that's all for this week. We will be doing our live stream watch-alongs on Thursday, Friday night. We'll be probably doing... we'll probably do the West Coast North Melbourne one. We might even do both on the Sundays. It could be pretty poor. But we'll most likely do Freo Melbourne. I like doing the night games on the Saturday night. I don't mind. I'm not locking in on Saturday night, so we'll lock those in for now. You might get a sneaky afternoon stream for the GWS St Kilda. Sorry,
you'll get if you like and subscribe to the channel, you'll get the notifications.
Exactly. If you put notifications on, you'll know exactly which games we're doing. But yes, please let us know your tips in the comments section below, and we'll see you guys in tomorrow, actually, for the live stream watch-alongs. We'll see you then. Bye.
See you later. Bye.